Emergency management and contingency planning, those two things are not the same thing. It's really, and you characterized it, I thought, nicely as response versus recovery. Will you differentiate those two things for us a little bit?
So one of the biggest things I tell our constituents, our personnel on campus, is that there's two main differences within emergency management itself. One is the emergency management response, right? You have an incident that occurs, and then you have productivity that just plummets because of that incident, whatever that may be, and it could be varying intensities of that. Once the emergency management personnel, first responders and their folks, come to the scene, evaluate the scene, and de-escalate the scene, then the recovery stage begins. And recovery is really all about business continuity planning. Emergency management helps plan for protection of life and property, and business continuity really plans for that. Okay, the incident's over, the incident's clear. How quickly are we going to get back up and running? Because now we're back in our offices. Things are piling up. Workload tends to do that after a while. And we really want folks to understand what are the key things that you do and what are your objectives for moving forward.
Cool. Just so we have a baseline of understanding, talk to us a little bit about what constitutes an emergency, because I'm sure there are obviously varying scales of it. We've got some examples we may look at here in a moment on the PowerPoint, but tell us the kind of emergency situations you all try to address.
Okay, so first thing is that our office liaises very closely with police and public safety's emergency management. And what we try to tell people is the emergency, what all emergency managers will tell you is that each emergency is local. You're going to be on the front line. You're the first responder as the business manager or even as the frontline employee. So we want them to plan for anything ranging from a sprinkler came on and it just took out all your computers to we just had a tornado go through here. And when we want the plans to scale to each of those events. You have varying differences in the level of whether it's a crisis, whether it's an emergency, whether it's a catastrophe, and those are very different levels of things. But we like to tell folks that it's part of the preparation phase of everything. So that's where we try to go with it. But the emergency phase can be anything, and we've had many examples here from inclement weather to terrorist attacks or things of that nature, active shooters and things of that nature. But it's really the small, more likely events that we like to help tell people to plan for.
One of the visuals you and I talked about earlier was the disaster impact timeline, which we've got up here now. And can you address this? Can you talk us through this a little bit and help us understand what you're trying to portray here?
Yeah, so the first part of that really is business continuity really relies on is productivity. And that's normal operating as we do every day. So once over time you see where that orange little blob is, it says that's the disaster or that's the disruption, whatever that case may be. And then as we see that productivity plummets, you have that response phase, which is what I talked a little bit about before, which is really where your emergency responders, your first responders, whether that's your frontline employees or police, fire, et cetera.
Depending on the gravity
Depending on the gravity of the situation, depending on how large it escalates to. And then that second phase really is where we kick in, it's where the recovery phase is. And so that's where we want people to understand that at that phase, you should be thinking about, okay, who are my customers? Who do I depend on to restore my services, both within the university and without? Do I have everything I need in order to resume my services? Do I have the records that I need? Are they backed up? Are they in fireproof safe somewhere? Things of that nature. And so we'd like to see that line get to above the 0 level of productivity. We want that to be in the positive side of things.
Correct. So basically, in that sort of context, service of some kind, even at a minor level, has been restored. Right?
Yes. Yes.
Interesting. Okay.